I think people not reading made the world the way it is now. I think it plays a humongous role. Because, I think people who read a lot, while they're reading the words they're reading, they're looking at like a picture book inside their head as they go, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't read all the time. It would be boring and pointless if they didn't have that part going on, right? The more you read, the bigger imagination you're going to have. The type of imagination you have is going to be based off what you're consuming or what you're reading. So as you read the text, your brain, based off you, generates the movie. But think about this. Ever since I stopped reading and just watching TV all the time, it's like society's like brains and like senses and everything like went down the drain. But here's the thing. The only reason that there's an image on the screen that you're getting now, instead of words and an imagination, you're getting somebody else's word on a script or an idea. You're getting someone else's idea, like slick, like hidden, like in your brain. So it still has an effect. You know what? I wish I could be like this age and be able to look at society when it went from black and white TVs to color TVs. I bet there was a drastic change somewhere when that happened. Actually, I bet I know what it was. I bet that made nature look like less pretty to people because you got this glowing screen. And the colors back then on old TVs, like the one I have downstairs, the colors are insanely different. They're like way warmer and more like mesmerizing versus the ones now. The TVs now make you squint and just make you piss the off. Me and my buddy were sitting on my porch earlier, and I was like, man, it sucks that cars and houses are all like gray, white, and black now. Like we're sitting there looking at the cars in the driveway. I said, Trev, every car in the driveway is gray. The house is gray. And I was like, at first I was like, man, that's fucking sad, but it ain't. Because as I'm sitting there looking at the house and looking at the cars in the driveway, I was like, dude, look how vibrant the roses look because of that. Like, that's interesting. It's crazy how much words and colors can have such a impact. So much of an impact, they use words people use for strictly art, like colors, like saturation, contrast, whatever. That's also like a figure of speech because like, how they can say something like, what that guy's saying is like too saturated, right? Or this person's personality is vibrant. Also, side note, but kind of not a side note too. So earlier, I was reading the lyrics of the Star Spangled Banner, and I was like, holy shit, we only sing like 1/4 of this song. So I started reading the rest of the song, right? Well, at the very end, it says, "In God is our trust." And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. So look, think about this. We know the phrase, "In God we trust," really well, right? I read quite a bit. I've never heard the phrase, "In God is our trust." So I thought about it for a minute. Okay, well, I took the time period in consideration. Back then, it didn't speak for other emotions. That was just like something you just didn't do that. People spoke for themselves. Okay, now take that and put that in context with, "In God is our trust." That's one person speaking for themselves and themselves only. Now, if you think about the phrase, "In God we trust," that is someone talking to someone else on behalf of whatever group is with them, like almost like trying to convince them. "In God we trust, I promise, I swear we do." And on that same note, when you're thinking about like that, like the "In God is our trust" versus "In God we trust," you start wondering like, okay, well, who the fuck were the people that burnt them churches down a long time ago? You know what I'm saying? Why'd they do that? What was up with that? Because right now, in our time, what's going on? They're busting all these churches for weird stuff. But that's the thing. Like, everybody I know that believes in God don't go to church. They're like, I don't have to go to church. Church is my motherfucking heart, dog. I'm not going to this big building to give some guy some money, dude. Now, speaking of money, here we go again. See, it just leads to something else, and it fits right in like a puzzle piece. Talking about money. What does money say on it? Yeah, in God we trust. You want to know what the first penny said? It said, mind your own business. Own the penny. I'm not kidding you. Bro, the train is so loud. Dude, I can hear everything so good up here. I love the sound of trains. I can hear that mother hitting his brakes, dog. He's going over a bridge. You can hear the hollowness of the rails. Yup. That's crazy, bro. I love it. But anyway, it's another thing that's funny. This is aside of all that. It's hilarious that it hasn't even been that long since my last friend group or whatever ago. These motherfuckers would ask me, they'd be like, dude, are you okay, bro? Because I would read a history book or try to tell them something about history that was written in this history book. Oh man, are you okay, man? Dude, should have got away from them. It was a long time ago. And that quote earlier that I found, smart people will talk about ideas, average people talk about events, and dumb people talk about other people. Man, that is so true. I'm somewhere in the middle of the first two. Talking wise, talking wise, with my friends, we talk about. But dude, when you look over there to all these other bro, you're like, holy, don't let them eat the windows. They're not even licking them. They're trying to eat them. Something else I just thought of where I kind of giggled, but it's kind of but I still giggled anyway. So talking about figures of speech. Watch this. Okay, the Little Mermaid, right? If you notice, obviously it's along the lines of mythology, right? So you got the character who looks like Zeus and all that stuff, right? Also, Ariel is really white and redheaded. But here's the thing, her name is Ariel. She's underwater. Her name is Ariel? Ariel. Okay, now take the word Ariel. They've been taking aerial photos for a long time of, Earth. So you got the guy who has the big, pitchfork thing. But he looks like Zeus or whatever. A thing that they, idea that people try to deem silly or stupid, right? Titans, there you go, Titans. And then you got a redheaded, pale-skinned mermaid named Ariel. But they live underwater. Okay, well, in the past, when they get rid of a type of person or a type of people, they have flooded out their cities. And now their cities are underwater. Like the guy who founded Bedford County in Tennessee, where he grew up, is underwater. It's called Percy Priest Lake. You can actually scuba dive down there and see the city. Not only that, the whole theory about pale-skinned, red-headed giants. Titans. Well, didn't they say that the earth got flooded and they drowned it? They're underwater. You see what I'm saying, man? And the people on here that do not like me or hate hearing this kind of that I say like this, even though I'm like, fuck you, they'll try to do what?